Welcome to Beyond the Brand, the podcast that takes you inside the world of franchising, brought to you by Business Alliance Incorporated. We're here to share real stories, expert insights, and strategies to help you navigate the franchise industry with confidence. Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome. This is Heath Turner with BAI for our Beyond the Brand series, where we get the opportunity to sit down with franchisees of our various franchise partners. And today we are joined by CareBuilders at Home franchisee Sheila Jones Lilley, who has been a franchisee since January of 2023. And she currently oversees the Inland Empire part of California, just east of Los Angeles. So we get to hear Sheila's story today, and hopefully this helps you understand the CareBuilders at Home brand a little bit more from a new perspective. Sheila, thank you so much for taking the time out this afternoon and joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. I like to kick these things off just getting to know a little bit more about you. So prior to January of 2023, what was your career path? What did you do previously, and what kind of led you to want to look into owning your own business?
So I was, and I still am an occupational therapist.
Okay.
And I have about 32 years of experience in occupational therapy in a variety of settings, the acute hospital setting, the acute rehab, home health, skilled nursing. I worked with all kinds of patients, everything from little newborns in the NICU all the way up through geriatrics,
Okay.
with hip replacements and strokes and you name it. I did a little bit of everything in occupational therapy.
Okay.
And then in 2019, a relative came to visit us, and we noticed that he had a severe decline. He was an elderly uncle. He had a severe decline over the last year that we had seen him. And he was a very private person. He lived alone. He never married or had kids, and we didn't know what was wrong. Why is he declining so much? He'd lost about 30 pounds. We had been told that his bills were not being paid, and he was a well-educated engineer. And so we knew he had a good retirement and pension. So we said, visit us for a little while and we'll figure out what's going on, because he didn't want to tell us.
Yeah.
And after snooping a little bit, we found that he had fallen victim to a terrible scam. And he had been defrauded out of everything. And so we reported it to authorities and called Adult Protective Services and did all the steps necessary to end the scam. But we knew he needed a fresh start. And so he came to visit us, and our intention was to have him move into one of those beautiful senior living communities that are near us so we could check in on him. Here we are 6 years later, and he's still visiting us. So he's still at our home.
Okay.
But because my husband and I travel and we work long hours, we started hiring caregivers to assist him in our home when we are gone. And we were doing it by word of mouth, church friends, neighbors, things like that. But it gave me the idea that there's a great need for this type of service. You want to help families who are caring for their loved ones, but they just need an extra helping hand. So I had that in the back of my mind to do when I retired from occupational therapy.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, it happened way before retirement. I decided to look into it further because the next year, my mother, who lived alone in Louisiana, also started to have health challenges. She fell, and she fell about 5 times in a series of 3 months. And my plan was to move her in next door to Uncle in our house. But she said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here at home. So I started hiring caregivers to assist her in her own home. And so that's how the idea was born of going into the caregiving business.
Yeah.
But I knew I didn't want to go into debt to start a business. And I have an MBA, so I earned my master's in business administration in 2010.
Wow.
So I wanted to do something that combined my healthcare experience with my business education. But I didn't want to go in debt to do it. And someone told me about rolling over retirement or pension funds into my own business. Said, if I can do, that's how this will happen.
Yeah. And then you stumbled across CareBuilders. How did that all play out? How did the brand get your attention, and what was the decision for you?
Okay. So the career coach that I was working with, who told me about rolling over my own funds, said, "Oh, since the caregiving business is the one that you're most interested in, I'm going to introduce you to 4 different brands." And I met with the 4 different brands, and CareBuilders impressed me the most
Mm,
because it was a franchise and a national one, but it was small enough that I could still call up the chiefs and the presidents and the
yeah.
CEO and all the people in charge and
Mhm.
direct conversations with them. It wasn't so big that those people were out of reach.
Yeah.
And I also liked the framework that they had. I like that they have human resources backup. They have marketing backup, accounting backup, accounts payable and receivable backups, and legal backup. So I liked that they had a really solid framework that I could pick up and plant here in the Inland Empire.
Yeah. So the support is really one of the big things that sold you on the business too.
Definitely, because I knew that with my education and my background, I could probably start Sheila's home care services.
Right.
I could probably start from scratch. I was 56 years old, not 36 years old, and I didn't
Mhm.
want to reinvent the wheel. And so I knew that if there was a model that I could embrace and that I could pick it up and plant it where I am, that would be
Mhm.
the best route for me to take. So that's
Perfect.
why I decided to go that route.
Yeah. And looking at owning your own business, obviously your personal experience was a big reason why, but what would you say were like the main, your why, what you wanted to get out of owning your own business? What was your aim in the early days?
So I actually, in working in corporate America, I had experienced a couple of layoffs. And my longest term job as a occupational therapist, I experienced a layoff because I was middle management. And when the hospital went through labor changes and
Yeah.
labor unions came on board, they did some layoffs of middle management. And
Mm.
then in my following 2 jobs, I experienced a similar thing where companies were sold and I had a layoff. And I said, you know what? I don't ever want to be laid off again
Yeah.
because it's really
Really?
deflating and defeating and
Oh, yeah.
demoralizing, especially when it's no, through no fault of your own. And because I did have the business education and I was underutilizing it, working for large corporations,
Hmm.
I wanted to utilize that education to work for myself. And I also had a desire to employ people and to look at people that maybe had not gotten to where they wanted to in life, and I wanted to be able to offer opportunities to them.
That's
So
awesome.
to
Yeah.
be an employer, so I could be helping seniors or people with disabilities in their
Mhm.
own homes, as well as I could be helping people that have big hearts and a lot of compassion to become caregivers.
Oh, that's great motivation. I love
Yeah.
that. And so now you sign on the dotted line, you pay your franchise fee. You're now a CareBuilders franchisee. What was the biggest learning curve for you early on? And on the reverse side of that, what do you think were the skills that translated over best for you as a new franchisee?
So I'll say first, one of the skills that translated over was that I was a manager. Although I was an occupational therapist, I was the manager of a rehabilitation services department. So my people managing skills definitely came in handy, and
Yeah.
that transferred over into hiring people and managing teams of people with care builders at home.
Yeah.
My biggest learning curve was, I guess I would have to say, the financial side of it, knowing all about taxes and all the accounting that is required.
Yeah.
That was a big learning curve for me that I'm still mastering. I'm still
Mhm.
working on here at my 2 year and 3 month mark of owning this business.
Absolutely.
Another learning curve was for me to recognize that because I have a big heart
Mhm.
and I do a lot of volunteering in my other life, but in running a business, you can't give the services away. I actually felt a bit of a burden with charging people. So I had to recognize that my service has a value
Yeah.
and a significant value, and that you have to set charges that are not unreasonable, but that will make your business successful.
I think it's better you're on that end of the spectrum, that you feel guilty for charging people, than the other end of the spectrum where you try to gouge people and
Yeah,
squeeze them for
that's
every dime they're with.
definitely not me to try to gouge people. I
Yeah,
try to work within people's budgets. And I find
that's great.
oftentimes the clients say, "Oh, I can't afford caregiving services." I tell them maybe you can't afford 7 days a week, or maybe not even five. Maybe you can afford 3 days a week, or maybe even one. And even having one day of really good, solid, compassionate, and thorough assistance will get you through to the next week, to the next visit.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for more of those administrative challenges, that learning curve for you early on, what were the levels of support, or maybe the arms of support from corporate, you found yourself really leaning on the most that helped you in those early days?
So the part I leaned on the most is marketing and sales,
Okay.
because in my previous jobs, the clients came to me,
Right.
patients came to me. I didn't have to go out and say, "You need any occupational therapy today?"
Yeah.
And so I had to learn a lot about marketing and putting myself out there, and brand awareness and placement, and making connections in the community. I
Yeah.
had to learn a lot about networking with individuals in the community. And I found that I really enjoy it. I really
I'm
enjoyed the
sure.
networking.
Yeah.
Although didn't have experience doing it, after getting started, I really enjoy it. And it's one of the things I enjoy most is networking.
That's excellent. And piggybacks nicely into my next question. How did you grow the business early on? What were the most fruitful referral partnerships you made, and marketing strategies that you saw really helped your business kind of start to take off?
Okay. So because I was a caregiver myself from my mother and my uncle,
Yeah.
I joined a caregiver support group.
Okay.
And each time that group met, they brought someone on to provide advice, resources, and things like that. So in my very first month in business in that support group, I met with an agency that I connected with them. I became contracted with them, and they started sending me referrals very quickly.
Oh, that's amazing.
And although the referrals are short term and it's
Mhm.
not a lot of hours, but it was enough to really get the ball rolling and get the business going.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And as everyone that has any kind of familiarity with in-home senior care franchises knows, it's managing and retaining labor. So, how did you go about finding the right caregivers, and what's your strategy for retention? Okay, got it.
And I contracted with them very early on.
Yeah, this turned out to
So
be a good
it turned
referral
out to be a
partnership.
very good referral source.
Excellent.
And I'm sorry, could you repeat your other question?
Yeah, just most people know now that a lot of the questions, I'm sure when you do validation calls with candidates and things like that, labor is always the biggest question that comes up around senior care franchises. So, how did you find the right caregivers, and what's your strategy for retaining them as best as you can?
Mm-hmm. So that was a learning curve for me too, since
I'm
it
sure. Yeah.
wasn't in managing occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech therapists, healthcare professionals, skilled
Mhm.
care professionals. They are very, when they apply for a job, they really want the job, and they show up for interviews, and they're going to be
Mhm.
consistent in following through with the steps necessary to get the job. Caregiving is a little bit different because you put out ads for hiring and people apply, but they may not follow through. They may follow through with the phone interview, but not show up for the in-person interview. They may show up for the in-person interview and you make an offer, and then they don't follow through with all the steps to getting hired. So that was something that I learned that was different about my past experience.
Yeah.
So I was surprised by that, but I had set a goal for hiring 10 people, 10 caregivers. I don't know why I came up with that number, but I said I'm gonna hire my first 10 caregivers and then we'll go forward. Because I
Mhm.
did learn that you have to have the employees before
Right.
you get the clients.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you don't have the employees, when the client calls, they're going to move on to someone else if you don't have someone to put in place right away. But I learned that I needed to be more transparent in the hiring process because we were a new company and just starting out, and I didn't have the hours. The first few people that we hired we weren't transparent about that. So we didn't have hours for them right away. So that turnover was very rapid. They
Yeah.
came, we offered them, we didn't have the hours, they moved on to someone else or somewhere else. You have to be very transparent in the hiring process with what your needs are, what your hourly expectations are. You need to get an honest answer about what their availability is. When you do those things, you're more likely to be successful in the hiring process with getting them on board.
Yeah.
You also need to let them know upfront what all the steps are, including we do drug testing, background checks. They need to know all of that because it will deter people who will be unqualified based on needing a background check or needing to pass a drug test. So you need to do that as well.
Yeah.
And then to retain them, since that was the other part of your question, you have to offer some incentives because in this economy, and especially in California, where minimum wage for fast food workers is $20 an hour, the state of California, that's what we're up against. That's what we're competing with. So you have to, in addition to their salary, it's great that CareBuilders at Home has great benefits that are available to caregivers, including healthcare, dental, vision, 401k, pet insurance, employee assistance program. You have to market those because those have a great value as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then on top of that, you still have to offer some incentives. So we do a few incentives. We have referral incentives. If they refer another caregiver that stays with us for 90 days, they get a bonus. If they refer a client that comes on board with us after 90 days, they get a bonus. And so we offer incentives for things like that. We also have a Caregiver of the Month award and a bonus and lots of recognition. And people need that. People need that pat on the back other than just their paycheck. Encourage them and keep them encouraged. And because caregiving is not an easy job, it's a tough job.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, we offer incentives like that.
Good. No, that's great. And so where is your business at today? How many caregivers do you have and how many ballpark clients are you currently serving?
So we have around 50 caregivers, give or take a few. We only have around 8 to 10 of them that are working full time, which is 32 hours or more. And the rest of them cover the outside hours, like just evenings or just weekends or just a shift here and there that's needed. But you need people to fill those roles as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
We have that core full-time group of caregivers that take the most hours, and then we have all the others who do the other extra hours.
And
then as far as clients, today we have around 40 clients.
Okay. Oh, that's great. And what's your vision for the business? Where would you like this to be 5 years from now? What's your ultimate goal where you can say, okay, we've gotten it to where I envisioned it being?
Yeah. So I think I would like to see us serving at least 100 clients.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see us employing about at least 150 caregivers. I definitely would like to see us serving more long-term, or I guess longer hour clients.
Yeah.
Because right now we're doing an average of maybe 10 hours a week per client. That's an average, with some being above that and some being below that. But I'd like to see us doing clients that take more hours a week or even more 24/7 clients. That would be definitely great to see us serving clients that need the around-the-clock services.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd also like to see us grow our administrative team. I knew right away that I could not do this by myself.
Yeah.
So when I opened the business, my daughter was home from college for the summer, and I was still working as an OT. So she got the office ready, desk, computers, phone lines, and all of that.
Oh, great.
But I knew she was going to go back to college in August. So I hired an administrative assistant full-time to help me. And she does the scheduling and a lot of the hiring process, where I do all the networking and marketing and sales and do the intakes. So we make a good team. But I'd like to see more people in the office assisting us go to that level. And we just opened a new line of business. We're using a computer platform called Placed. And so our new line of business is assisting individuals when home is no longer an option.
Oh, yeah. Find a good facility.
finding a
Okay.
facility that meets all of their needs, fits
Mhm.
within their budget, and is in a location where they want to live. So
Yeah.
that's a new line of business. And we just started that in the last couple of weeks. So I'd love to see that grow and expand as well.
Excellent. Yeah, that's very exciting. Perfect. And as your day in the life, the January 2023, probably a little chaotic, wearing a lot of different hats. Have you been able to delegate some of those responsibilities? Has your day in life changed very much from those early days to now? Or are you still mainly doing the same daily roles and responsibilities you had before?
Yeah. So we bought the franchise in January, but I did not open and move into this office until July 1st.
Okay.
And in those first 6 months, I was all over the place.
I bet.
I
Yeah.
was answering the phone, scheduling,
Mhm.
interviewing, doing drug screens, going out to do intakes. I had my finger in every single aspect of the business. And I realized that as we grew, that could not continue. And after I hired my administrative assistant, her name is Charmaine, I realized that she was the perfect hire because she was young enough to know all of the techie things, all of the social
Yeah.
media things,
Yep.
but she was mature enough to really take her job seriously and be professional and carry the load in the hiring side of the business.
Oh, great.
I let her do her job, and I even gave her some additional responsibilities and promoted her to operations manager.
Oh, excellent.
So she went from being an administrative assistant to actually an operations manager. So I can be out of the office all day, even for days at a time, and she can run things and make sure that everything runs smoothly when I'm not in the office. If, for example, I was afraid to be out too much in the skilled nursing facilities or the hospitals or at senior vendor fairs and things like that.
Yeah.
But now I can do that and be very comfortable with it.
Excellent. It's nice when you find anchor employees like that can really
Absolutely.
grow from within with you. That's great. And I just have a couple more questions. So it sounded like you worked with a broker or a consultant originally to discover this opportunity. So if you put yourself in the shoes of that coach that you worked with to find CareBuilders, and you were going to present this opportunity to someone thinking about becoming a franchisee, knowing everything you know about the business, how would you present this opportunity to someone thinking about becoming a franchisee? What would be the big highlights for you about the business that you think our brokers should make sure they mention when they're working with their candidates?
So when I went through the process, I went through a series of interest tests and aptitude tests. And I think those were invaluable
Yeah.
because it confirmed what I thought and it gave me some choices because I didn't go immediately to the caregiving business. There were some other lines of business that were introduced to me based on the results of the test and the assessments that I did. So I think those are invaluable because it gives you choices. You're not just pigeonholed that this is all that I can do. And then it let you examine those choices. So I would say definitely do that and give them more than one type of business that would meet their interests, their
Yeah,
strengths, and
exactly. So that's a
guide them in
lot
the
of what
right
we,
direction.
yeah, that's exactly what our brokers do with their clients.
And I have recommended that to several family members, business acquaintances, maybe still working for someone else, but felt like they would like to go into business. I have recommended that they work with, I call them career coach.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty explanatory of what the role is.
I recommended them to work with a career coach to see where their strengths are and where they might be most successful.
And then when you think about the Care Builders opportunity specifically, how would you present becoming a franchisee with Care Builders to that candidate? Like, what would be the highlights about the brand and the opportunity it provides?
The highlights about the brand, I think, is just the large amount of support you have in starting up.
Yeah,
That was so important to me, having never run a business myself, even though I had a business degree. And you in
yeah,
in that process, you build a simulated business, but there's nothing like the real thing. And at Care Builders, someone literally held my hand and walked me through the steps. Okay, first you have to get a license in the state of California, and these are the requirements, and then you also have to Are you going to do a corporation? Are you going to do are you going to do a C Corp versus an S Corp or versus a LLC? Or
Right.
I had some guidance in doing that, although it was ultimately my decision. When I picked that first administrative assistant, when I was hiring Charmaine,
Mm-hmm.
I ad in Indeed. I got 200 applicants. How are you going to narrow that down to one person? So I
Yeah.
got a lot of guidance from CareBuilders at home, human resources, in how to narrow that down and how to rule out people. And when it came down to the final interviews, they participated in those final interviews with me
Oh,
to
okay.
make sure that I was sure about my selection.
Yeah,
And so I just think the guidance and the support that I got
absolutely.
was the most important thing and has helped me to get to the success level that I'm at right now.
Yeah, it's pretty crucial to have that kind of backing. So that's great to hear. And then my last question is, as I asked you earlier, it sounds like having that control of your own destiny and not being at the whim of layoffs and that kind of uncertainty, I'm sure caused a lot of anxiety in the past. That was
Yes.
one of the big reasons why you wanted to own your own franchise. So now, 2 years, some change later, do you feel like this opportunity has given you that independence and that control of your own destiny you were looking for?
Yes, I definitely am sure that I made the right decision because
Awesome.
it was a real leap of faith.
Oh
Honestly,
yeah.
I was like, I was nervous. I had
Mhm.
some sleepless nights.
I'm sure.
Am I doing the right thing? My husband's, are you sure?
Yeah, it's a big decision. I think feeling that fear is totally normal. And a lot of people have told me through the years, I'd be more concerned if a candidate didn't feel that kind of fear before making the leap to becoming a franchisee. So many people have been in your shoes there.
Yeah, you definitely cannot take it lightly. You have to, this is not something you can do part-time. You have to go full-fledged into it and dedicate yourself to it to make sure that it's going to be successful.
Absolutely. It looks like a great decision for you and really excited to hear how things have scaled up recently and wishing you all the continued success. So thanks so much, Sheila, for your time today and sharing your story with us. I know it'll help a lot of people better understand CareBuilders at home.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was a pleasure sharing my journey with you.
Well, pleasure is all mine. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on this episode of Beyond the Brand, brought to you by Business Alliance Incorporated. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe and stay connected for more insights on franchising success. Until next time.